What is going on, everybody? It's the Franz, and we're here for Unscripted episode number 118 for your Sunday, May 10th, 2000. This is your Money in the Bank night. The night where the risk is worth the reward, the most unique match in WWE. That is happening tonight. Now, the Money in the Bank ladder matches, which are going to be happening simultaneously, and apparently during the show, it's not going to be where we're going to watch everything live happening in the WWE Performance Center, and then we're going to cut to the Money in the Bank, and that's all we're going to see. They'll probably start the show with the Money in the Bank. We'll have that go on for a bit. Then they'll cut back and said we'll rejoin this later, going back to the WWE Performance Center, have a match, maybe two, go back to see what's going on, have a match with, then go back, and so on and so forth, until there is a winner for the men. And the women, as we know, it is going to be they're going on simultaneously. These will become the longest matches in Money in the Bank history for the ladder match itself. There is nothing, especially if they go from start to finish, and I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to go from start to finish of this show, of these matches. But there's something that WWE has got to figure out coming out of this show. Money in the Bank needs to be the first show to have fans. AEW, this past Wednesday, went live from Daily's place. JR was back. Excalibur was back. They had wrestlers in the up near the barricade. But if you actually watch the show, and they panned left, right every once in a while when John Moxley made his entrance, there were actually people sitting in the stands. Was it a packed full capacity? No. But there were fans in the crowd, and it made such a difference. Just watch Raw, just watch SmackDown, hell, even watch NXT. Yes, Karrion Kross's entrance was awesome. Would have been great if you had maybe 10 people, 15 people in there to react to it. It was still a hell of an entrance. But even Bully Ray was watching both of these shows apparently at the same time, said the vibe the vibe between these two shows is night and day. Having a crowd, no matter what the size is, makes a difference. Yes, we can tell Vince McMahon was dragged kicking and screaming to change the hard cam from where it usually is to facing the Tron, because that's what AEW did. He does not want to be seen as copying AEW. Had his group of people come up, or he come up with it first, and they put people in the crowd before AEW, we would see people in the crowd in WWE. It would be wrestlers. You'd have heels on one side, baby faces on the other, but you would have them, and then Vince McMahon would be like, "Oh, look, they're copying us." But unfortunately, that did not happen. Tony Khan was a guest again, or he was a recent guest on Unrestricted for the AEW podcast. And he said that he was watching Jimmy Fallon right after all this happened and they shut down everything. Jimmy Fallon was still in studio, but it wasn't like WWE. It wasn't like all these other ones where they were just cold. There was nobody there. He had his producers and other people out there making noise. And that's why Tony Khan went out there and said, we need to do something like that so we don't drive our fans away. Yes, there was some shows. It was the second week after the everything happened that they did not have any wrestlers outside in Daily's place because restrictions weren't from you can have a group of 50 to a group of 10, and they weren't going to be able to realistically do the group of 10 with a crowd of any size out there. So we had a couple episodes like that. Then they went to Georgia in the Nightmare Factory, which is owned by QT Marshall, and they taped weeks and weeks of television right before Georgia had a shutdown of its own. So that's why you saw for weeks and weeks and weeks, you saw talent in the crowd. Now, yes, there was not. They only had a small amount of talent there for that entire taping. They had about 23 wrestlers, and I tell you what, doing weeks of television with just 23 wrestlers And trying not to do the same match twice is not an easy thing to do. I mean, they had the whole TNT title tournament up until the finals happened on the sets of tapings. There's so much that AEW did right. Now, WWE needs to do something about this. We cannot. Florida is allowing 25% capacity for a big arena like Daly's Place, even the Performance Center. They could have maybe 10, 15 people in there. If you spread them out enough, you can get people into there. You have 15 people, 5 on one side, 5 on the other, 5 where the Hurricane's at right now. And you have yourself a crowd. You know how much difference it would make if they had 15 people spread out? I don't give a shit, but spread the fuck out to give us a small crowd. It would make so much of a difference. Same thing in Full Sail. Left, right, and center. 15 people allowed. That is it. It would make such a difference. And WWE would probably not have the worst ratings that they've had lately. Monday Night Raw ratings have sunk to the lowest of the lows. The last time WWE's ratings were this bad was the early 90s. The last time WWE's popularity was in this state was the early 90s. But of course, things back then were the steroid trial, the sexual harassment trials, people leaving. They had to change everything. Hogan wasn't there anymore. Macho Man wasn't doing anything but being on commentary. It was a changing of the guard to a Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart and everyone like that. And of course, they went to T.L. Hopper and Duke the Dumpster Droese, which nobody gave a fuck about. But WWE had so much they had to go through before, and they made it through. But I don't know if they're going to be able to do that this time. There's just so much that they need to work on to get this better. But adding fans, Money in the Bank, which apparently everything but the ladder matches is going to be live. Everything. Which is fine. But give me some fucking fans. I don't give a shit if you bring people's families who live nearby. I don't care. You have to test everybody. AEW tested everybody who went in there who was a wrestler, a stagehand, or anybody who was working in production or any part of the show. They were tested. They caught it. They were gone. They were not coming in. But everybody's tested negative, so they went on with the show. Apparently, I believe they taped the next 2 weeks leading up to Double or Nothing. So that's fine. Have they taped Double or Nothing? I'm not sure. I'm sure they have. If not, they're probably going to do it live. But you want to know something? Money in the Bank does not have any fans, and AEW's Double or Nothing does. Even if it's the smallest it can be, it's going to be night and day between the two. Yes, Daly's Place has a better atmosphere anyway. It doesn't feel as claustrophobic as the Performance Center. The Performance Center is just so small because it's not meant to be a place where you're going to hold wrestling shows weeks at a time. It was only meant to have that one episode of NXT the night when all of this really started. And they had that big brawl with Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. That was going to be the only time, probably this year, the Performance Center was going to be used. That's why they did that big brawl, to get it out of the way. And by the way, all that damage that Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa laid in on the Performance Center probably could have, if they didn't do that, they probably could have saved at least 2 or 3 jobs that got furloughed and released not too long, late last month. I'm not going to do the tally, but I'm pretty sure as much all the damage that was done to Titan Towers, I'm sure is going to get racked up by somebody who actually knows what all this stuff's going to be worth. And I guarantee they could have saved 3, 4, maybe most of the jobs that they fired if it wasn't for them doing this match coming up tonight. WWE just cannot help themselves. Now, WWE did announce 2 matches. I did my predictions for Money in the Bank on Friday's show. But I did not know about these 2 matches that were announced yesterday. Jeff Hardy, on the kickoff, will face Cesaro. Why? Hell if I should know. As we know, Jeff Hardy made his long-awaited return after 4 weeks of vignettes to face off with Sheamus. Sheamus is pissed off that everyone is like being all happy about Jeff Hardy coming back. He's getting no respect. Blah, 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 blah. So he confronts Jeff Hardy on Friday. Jeff Hardy gets the better of him. But instead of having Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus on the main card, on the kickoff, you're giving me Jeff Hardy versus Cesaro. Now, granted, if this was when they were the Bar, this makes sense because Sheamus and Cesaro were a tag team at one time. But they're not even a tag team anymore. Cesaro is bouncing between Sami Zayn and he's bouncing around as being a lapdog of Sami Zayn or King Baron Corbin. So why he's even dealing with something that Sheamus should be dealing with is beyond me. Do I expect Sheamus to get involved? Yes. Do I expect Jeff Hardy to win? Yes, because Jeff Hardy just made his return and Cesaro really doesn't need to win that match. Then, for whatever reason, I don't know why this match is happening, R-Truth versus MVP. Now, this really makes no sense here. Jeff Hardy versus Cesaro is a pre-show match. MVP and R-Truth is a pay-per-view match. What? Are you kidding me? Out of those two matches, which match would you say is grounds for a pre-show? Showing Jeff Hardy versus Cesaro, especially if you gave those guys 15 minutes. Jeff Hardy versus Cesaro would give you a great fucking match. R-Truth versus MVP on the main card, why? It's not like the 24/7 championship is anywhere to be found. That's held by Rob Gronkowski still, as he moves on to the NFL. So, I have no idea what the hell WWE's thinking. Out of the two matches they give us, that are added, and they had to add a match or two because there was only 6 matches going into the show. Granted, one of those matches is going to be with 12 people in all over the WWE's Titan Towers. But the card looks at this right now. WWE Championship, Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins. Universal Championship, Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt. Bayley versus Tamina for the SmackDown Women's title. The men's and women's Money in the Bank briefcases with Daniel Bryan, Aleister Black, Rey Mysterio, Baron Corbin, Otis, and AJ Styles. Nia Jax, Asuka, Shannon Baszler, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, Carmella. The SmackDown Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match, and R-Truth versus MVP on the main card. And then, of course, Jeff Hardy versus Cesaro. So, what match? I could see them adding one match between the time that I'm recording this, which is, of course, 11/11 at night on the day before. And by the time we get to the pre-show, the Viking Raiders versus the Street Profits will probably be added. Because, honestly, other than cutting to the Money in the Bank ladder matches off and on, they really ain't got much substance to this pay-per-view, which is fine. WWE just, wow. 2 matches, one that should be on the main card, and one that should be on the pre-show, I just can't even tell with this company. There's some AEW news for you though. AEW, on Wednesday, JR mentioned that AEW Dark will be coming to you this Tuesday. And mentioned this is going to be a stacked Super Stark of sorts. Well, you wonder what that would probably be. I figured that was going to be because they had matches taped to, I believe, next week or the week after that. Or probably leading up to Double or Nothing, and they were going to come back and tape for Double or Nothing. Of course, they scrapped all that because probably Tony Khan was getting tired of seeing the same matches over and over, just like I think a lot of people were going to be. But AEW has put out the matches for Dark this coming Tuesday. Jurassic Express will take on Mike Reed and Raya Rembrandt. Chris Statlander will take on Danny Jordan. I have seen Danny Jordan wrestle one time, and that was in the Circle Squared special that NWA did back in, I believe, January or February. They did 2 episodes, well, 3 episodes, because they did 2 episodes in one show. But the first one had Danny Jordan as a heel versus this big, huge woman from Alaska that I cannot remember the name of her at all. But Danny Jordan stuck out just because of the attitude she had and the fact that she lets you know that, hey, my name is Danny Jordan and I'm going to go kick this person's ass. I find it funny how then when we were watching the last few weeks of AEW, that Danny Jordan was on the babyface side of things. I found that kind of interesting. But yeah, she'll be taking on Chris Statlander. Phoenix makes his return to take on Alan Angels, which everybody gave Kenny Omega shit for giving Alan Angels a competitive match, letting Alan Angels have a competitive match against him. Everyone's like, oh, this is terrible. This is terrible for the business. How can Kenny Omega let this jobber schlub go out there and hang with him? It's called giving these guys a place to shine. Kenny Omega is not a top of the card guy right now. He doesn't have to be. That's what the John Moxleys and everyone else are doing. Kenny Omega came out there and gave this guy 10-15 minutes to showcase himself. If you got a fucking problem with it, then you need to stop watching the fucking product. Kenny Omega went out there and gave this guy all he needed. But Phoenix and him and Alan Angels will take each other, will have a match, which I'm sure will probably be, hopefully, a good match. Britt Baker takes on Skylar Moore. Orange Cassidy is in action and takes on Jason Cade. Private Party will take on Lee Johnson and Musa. Colt Cabana takes on Sean Dean. 10 of the Dark Order takes on John Cruz. And in the, what I think should be your main event, I hope this is the main event because this is the only thing that should be the main event because it was being built for weeks. And this should not be a simple, one-on-one match. This should be a fucking lights out match. Jimmy Havoc takes on Luther. That should be the main event in a no disqualification lights out match or something. These guys are known for death matches. Give me Luther versus Jimmy Havoc in some kind of nasty brawl. That's all I'm going to say about that. Of course, if you've been paying attention, MJF will be in action this coming Wednesday. Brody Lee takes on Christopher Daniels. Jurassic Express with Marco Stunt versus the Best Friends with Orange Cassidy. Interview with Jake Roberts and Lance Archer after what they did to Brandy Rhodes this past Wednesday, which was just a little disturbing, if you do say so myself. Hikaru Shida versus Penelope Ford versus Britt Baker versus Chris Statlander in what I'm calling they didn't say this, but this is a de facto #1 contenders match for the AEW Women's Championship going into Double or Nothing, as there's only a few weeks left, and this should be just a #1 contenders match. Jericho versus Pineapple Peeps, Shug D, and Matt Hardy and Kenny Omega will take on Santana and Ortiz after what happened this past Wednesday, as Santana and Ortiz helped the Inner Circle mates beat the Broken One and the one half of the tag team champions. So that is AEW news for you. I cannot wait to see what happens this Tuesday. I cannot wait to see this Wednesday. I don't review Tuesday's Darks because, one, it's not a series product. It's something to go out there. You have comedy matches more often than not, and a lot of squash matches. A lot of people are just making their debuts and are getting tryout matches on Dark. How many weeks in a row did we see Big Swole, Ariel Monroe, go out there and have a match? When she was nowhere close to being ready for TV, she was just having tryout matches. That's all she was doing. That's what Dark is meant for. Dark is not something that it's like if I want to watch wrestling just for my leisure, that's what Dark and NWA Power, when Power is on there, that's when I watch those. I don't watch them for review. I don't watch him for anything other than just to watch wrestling, because there's sometimes like I want to go, and honestly, with the way Monday Night Raw's been, Dark on Tuesdays is a palate cleanser for everybody. Now, most people who don't watch Dark, don't watch NWA Power, you have that whole day. If you watch both Raw and NXT or Raw and AEW, you have that whole day to, forget about what you watched on Monday Night Raw, because Monday Night Raw has been utter shit most of the time. But Dark is one of those things that you can go into it and not expect to see 100% seriousness, because there is a lot of stuff on there that has been comedic. The Bucks have been comedic on there. Dustin Rhodes has been comedic on there. Cody's been comedic on there. I mean, there is some serious stuff, but a lot of times it is comedic, and that's fine. It's just, that's what that is for. It's not going to be something that, and yes, the wins and losses do count from Dark, which is why if you watch Wednesday and Sheeta wrestled on the week before, and then she wrestles the week after because of whatever, and you see there's an extra win or loss in her record, is because she wrestled on Dark as well. Yes, I prefer dark to just be something I watch on a regular by myself. Also tonight, after Money in the Bank, is going to be The Undertaker's Last Ride, which is, if you watch, there is a video on their YouTube channel. Just go to WWE's YouTube channel. They have the first 13 minutes of The Last Ride. This is chapter 1 of what is going to be a 5-part docu-series. And of course, if you're watching the Last Dance, which is Michael Jordan, like the 10-part docu-series of Michael Jordan's final run with the Chicago Bulls, this is going to be in that same vein. It goes from 2017 to 2020, which that's a long fucking time. Of course, this is around the time The Undertaker really started to, you know, open up. He started, I think, is when he got his Instagram account. He had, like, the kayfabe of Undertaker started to diminish away. Undertaker, of course, was that last gimmick. It was one of the few gimmicks that actually, if you saw him outside of WWE, he was dressed as The Undertaker. He would appear as The Undertaker. Hell, the Cavaliers won the NBA title in, what was it, 2016? And I believe The Undertaker made an appearance at a Cavaliers game. But he didn't come looking like, you know, with a toboggan, with a do-rag on and jeans and his leather jacket. He came dressed as the fucking Undertaker. That's how dedicated The Undertaker is to his craft. So that's just how it is. So the fact that The Undertaker, who almost never, ever lets himself be documented like this, the only other time since he came back to the Dead Man in 2004 that I think that he did anything where he actually spoke as a normal human being was on the Kingdom Come DVD set that was done for Triple H. Undertaker with a big thick hoodie on with it on over his head, sat there and talked about the career of Triple H and things that happened in Triple H's career, because The Undertaker was somebody that you would go to when Triple H was starting to make that rise up and he started to date Stephanie. And of course, as we all know, Triple H was going to be known as getting everything handed to him because he's dating the boss's daughter, which in the long run, yes, a lot of stuff that Triple H got in his career was handed to him because he's dated and married the boss's daughter. Would Triple H still be in WWE had him and Stephanie never started dating and Stephanie and him never got married? That's tough to say. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? But I'm looking forward to this. I will have my thoughts on Last Ride Part 1 coming up this next on episode 119. I'm going to be watching it. Probably watch it more than once, depending on how good it is. I do love the 24 specials. I do love all these document series that WWE does. If they do one thing good in 2020, in the last 6 or 7 years, if they do something that they're really good at, it's these documentary series from the 24s to the 365s. Anything else like this, they do a hell of a job. It's just, that's the shit that WWE is good at. I mean, I love the table for threes. I love the photo shoots. I love all of that stuff because it breaks down the barriers, but it doesn't expose the business. It's these people going out there, reminiscing about their life, their career, and we get a tiny peel behind the curtain of WWE, but it's not like the full-blown spiel. We don't get to sit in the writer's room and see what these guys are talking about. It's all a lot of good shit. I really can't wait to see what happens. It's going to be 5 parts. I wonder if it's going to be every Sunday started, like the next 5 Sundays, or they're going to do one this month, one next month, the month after that, and the month after that, and the month after that. I hope the hell not. But yes, cannot wait for the Last Ride of The Undertaker, which, with that name, it makes it seem like maybe, and there's a lot of rumors going around that The Undertaker's match with AJ Styles at WrestleMania in that Boneyard match was it. I mean, he even put a photo out on Instagram of him sitting either on or in front of a stump and just put out this big, huge message hinting at the fact that maybe this last ride was this Boneyard match. Who knows? Maybe in the part 5, he'll announce his retirement from wrestling after that Boneyard match. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. It's something I'm looking forward to. And if you are a fan of The Undertaker, if you're a fan of professional wrestling, you should be too. So again, right immediately after Money in the Bank, the last ride Undertaker special is going to be happening. I won't be watching immediately after Money in the Bank because I'll be reviewing Money in the Bank myself. But man, that's going to be something to look forward to. Let's talk about Roman Reigns. Of course, as everyone knows, Roman Reigns, the night that they were taping WrestleMania first night, he comes up to WWE management and is like, listen, I'm pulling out for whatever reason he gave them. We have not seen Roman Reigns or heard about Roman Reigns since then. Hell, even this past Monday, WWE did a top 10 Money in the Bank moments. Not the top 10, but top 10 moments from, or 10 moments from Money in the Bank history. Number one to them, as it should be, because this top moment will never be topped, was WrestleMania 31, even though they don't want to say 31, but WrestleMania 31, 2015, when Seth Rollins ran down that aisle, cashed in Money in the Bank, and won the WWE Championship. Now, if you never saw the match yourself, live or whenever, you would think, if you only saw it on Monday, that Seth Rollins ran down to the ring, hit Brock Lesnar with a stomp, and pinned the Beast 1, 2, 3. No, that is not what happened. If anybody remembers, if I'm correct, both Roman and Brock were down. Seth's music hits. Seth comes running down. Seth cashes in. He goes to stomp Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar picks him up out of the air, goes for the F5. Roman hits Brock Lesnar with a spear. Brock Lesnar fails out of the ring. Seth hits the stomp on the Roman. 1, 2, 3. Seth Rollins is your WWE Champion 5 years ago. WWE did not want to let you think that Roman Reigns was even in that match. Just like WWE has been doing with these Jeff Hardy videos. Since Matt Hardy left, they want to distance themselves from Matt Hardy. I'm surprised that when they did this best ladder matches bullshit thing on Fox yesterday, or today, when I'm taping this. And I didn't see all of it, but I saw when they showed the Hardy Boys return. Now yes, they had the whole clip of Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy returning. And they made sure to emphasize Jeff as much as they could. Like Matt Hardy, yes, he had to be seen because he was there when they made their entrance, and he was there at the tail end. But they made that emphasis to just make sure that it was all Jeff Hardy. They even showed Jeff Hardy more than anything. Then they cut to Michael Cole and Corey Graves, who were hosting this. And yeah, Michael Cole actually said his brother, like Jeff's brother, Matt Hardy, which I'm really surprised they didn't just say his brother. Because WWE and Vince McMahon are some petty-ass motherfuckers. So, back to Roman Reigns. Everybody is wondering, why is Roman Reigns being cut off of WWE television? Why have we not seen Roman Reigns? Why have we not heard about Roman Reigns? And a lot of it has been wondering, maybe it's because Vince McMahon doesn't want Roman Reigns to be mentioned, because Roman Reigns he backed out of a big match. The match that they wanted, they sacrificed the Fiend for, was to get that title onto Roman Reigns from Goldberg, and it didn't happen because Roman pulled out, as he should have. And as I've said before, Roman should not have had to make that decision. When the country illegally and unlawfully shut down, which was stupid, but we're not going to talk about that right now. But when that happened, and it's like people with underlying health problems, Roman Reigns should have been, like, the doctor should have came up to him and was like, listen, dude, we're not going to let you compete. You have to go home. But they didn't do that. Roman did it himself. But Roman spoke with TMZ Sports about his status with the company, how he's taken time off during this pandemic bullshit. Reigns was asked about how he's dealing with everything given the health challenges he had to face. He said he's doing good, and the decision to take time off was based on his family, as it should be. He said, and I quote, "I'm doing good. A lot of people, they think that I was based off my health and the history of my fight against leukemia, but just talking to my doctors and stuff, I am actually fine. and my immune system is good. The drugs that I take in order to fight the leukemia, they don't attack your immune system. But not everybody knew because I try to keep it private. In this crazy world, but my children, you know, we just had 2 newborn twin boys. They're 8 weeks old, so I had to make a decision for them, and I love this business. And if anybody ever questions if I love this business, go back about 1.5 years ago. I came back as fast as possible. I could have took a lot longer off to focus on my health, which honestly he should have, because did he make a major difference at WrestleMania 38, 35? Not really. But they told me, yeah, man, you should be fine if you want to go into the ring and do your thing. If you want to go back to normal and jump, and I jumped as soon as they gave me the green light. So this is bigger than me. It's my family. It's my children. They are my legacy. No matter what I do in this world, my children are going to be the ones that represent my name and carry our name forward. So I had to make the choice for them, to protect them, being so young, but we're doing good. Yes, that right there is absolutely true. No matter what you do in your life, if you have kids, that is your legacy. From the day they are born to the day you die, they are like, what you do to set them up for success is going to be your legacy. That I can agree with. He continued. It's tough because I want to be out there. I want to. Don't get me wrong. It's weird to see the show in front of no one. But I want. Yeah, you know what I mean. It's strange because we sell the atmosphere. There's nothing like being in a WWE show when the house is packed and the crowd is going nuts. It's unlike anything I can. There's no comparison because of the unison, and it's all like a home crowd. It's all like a home crowd. You know what I mean? It's not like a split crowd. It doesn't get quiet. If it gets quiet out there, then that's on the superstars. Something's going wrong. That part I would have to say yes and no. It's 50-50. 50% yes, it's on the superstar. 50% yes, no, it's not on the superstar, because the other 50% is what that superstar is given. And usually the shit that WWE gives these superstars is shit, and they have to go out there and try and make it work. And most of the time, you just can't make it work. But yeah, man, I miss it. I want to be out there. I want to go back to work. I want to go back to normal, but I feel like I have an obligation, not only to my family and myself, but to my community. And also to set an example, because at the end of the day, we can do a lot of different things and say a lot of different things, but it's through our actions that we really speak volume. That's what I'm trying to do. James was then asked if he's playing everything by ear or if he has a date in mind to return to the ring. He said he really doesn't know when he will return, as he's taking everything day by day, but he wants to get back in front of the fans as it's tough to be a performer with who's not performing. So, yeah. Roman Reigns is out. But I'm sorry, that still doesn't excuse why WWE takes him and erases him from history. Seth Rollins cashing in on Money in the Bank, at WrestleMania with the Money in the Bank briefcase on Brock and Roman is one of the greatest moments in WrestleMania history. I don't care what anyone else says. That was a fantastic moment. Of course, back in 2015, when it first happened, I'm like, what the fuck? This is dumb, blah, blah, blah. But then when you think about it, you sit there and you think about it, it's like, Vince McMahon, you did it again. But Roman Reigns, but then WWE does something that I think was very tasteless. Is that they do the Make-A-Wish Foundation. They've been working with the Make-A-Wish Foundation probably longer than I've been alive. And of course, we know John Cena has worked with Make-A-Wish more than anybody else when it comes to the WWE star. But so is Roman Reigns. And every year they would show videos of Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is part of Make-A-Wish. They would do these videos with Roman Reigns, John Cena, and other ones working it. WWE, in their infinite knowledge, took Roman Reigns out of this video. Why? Because Vince McMahon is a petty motherfucker. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what Roman says. Vince McMahon, Vince McMahon had everything riding on this dude, Roman Reigns, taking the title and becoming the guy again. And Braun Strowman was never supposed to be champion. Braun Strowman was never supposed to be anywhere near the championship. He wasn't even going to be on WrestleMania except for probably the men's Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. If everything went to plan, Braun Strowman would have been in the Battle Royal, and that's as good as he was going to get. But instead, they gave him the Universal Championship because they had nobody else. So WWE and Vince McMahon, Vince McMahon is pissed. Vince McMahon wants Roman to be Universal Champion. He wants to be the guy. He wants him to be his guy. And Roman was like, listen, whether it was for his health, it was for his kids, which if he has 2 kids who are 8 weeks old or 8 weeks old, then fine. That's good on him. But Vince McMahon doesn't care about that. Vince McMahon wants you to give your blood, sweat, tears, and everything else to his company. And you do what Roman Reigns did, you're damn straight Vince McMahon is petty as fuck. Vince McMahon is going to go out there and try and erase this guy as much as he can. Yes, Fox went out there and advertised Roman Reigns as part of their special they did on Tuesday. But that is something Fox did. That was a Fox decision. That was not a Vince McMahon decision. Fox has the right to use WWE material the way they see fit. If they want to say Roman Reigns, they're going to say Roman Reigns. Moving away from WWE, let's go back to AEW for a minute. Cody Rhodes was on Busted Open Radio with Bully Ray and his group of people. And they were talking about the empty arenas and how each company's really been faring. Well, as we know, with the COVID-19 bullshit pandemic we're going through right now, taking over all across the board, many entertainment events have been canceled or postponed. For pro wrestling, it seems that many promotions, including AEW, are doing all they can do to keep their fans happy and content during this difficult time. Bully Ray asked Cody Rhodes during his interview on Busted Open if they consider this weekly television show of the shows to the most entertaining product out there in wrestling wise. Oh yeah, wholeheartedly, Cody exclaimed. You know, during the period of time where a lot of content is pre-recorded or taped, a good chunk of it, I'm still seeing it multiple times. One of the best things is when you go to see the screeners, or you look at items in post-production. If it can bring a smile to your face, an organic smile, or I'm sure you've seen this Bully, I'm catering, since this is where it always happens. That thing where wrestlers watch their matches and you see them start moving around and you watch their face going through the motions, it always brings a smile. The content is king right now, especially with this virus and the quarantine. Our content is king. I think our content is the best. Since AEW is working with a limited staff, many wrestlers are working multiple roles. A prime example is Chris Jericho, who was teaming with Tony Schiavone on commentary. Most recently, Rhodes applauded both men for their efforts, while also mentioning how their pairing has been a silver lining during this dark period of wrestling. He said, and I quote, "I actually said this to Cody and Chris. I think a lot of people are going to miss the duo. Yeah, tell me about it. A lot of things have come up as by necessity. Like the movie, The Replacements. There's been a replacement story with the limited roster that we had as we were filming during the quarantine. One of the silver linings, and there's been a lot of them, is the duo. I think people are going to miss the commentary team with Jericho and Schiavone. To see Tony Schiavone grow into his role even further, the role he didn't have to grow into really amazingly. He's been an MVP during this time period, but I'm excited to get Jim Ross, Excalibur, and Taz back in the fold and get the full team together." Speaking of the commentary team, Bully Ray took a moment during his interview to talk about Taz's performance on commentary since his debut, what impresses him, and many other things. Which, not much to talk about really, but yes. If you want to look at, I have not watched really Impact Wrestling's a few close sets that they've done, because Impact Wrestling, when all of this went down, had at least a couple weeks left in the can, so they had crowds for their shows for a couple of weeks. But the big two main players, WWE and AEW, just look at the crowd, just watch the matches over the last few weeks, and just see how much different Raw and SmackDown have just been a mental drain, while AEW has put on some great matches and have that crowd atmosphere. Yes, when they were at the Nightmare Factory, which is again another performance center type place, it does feel a little bit more claustrophobic, but they had the crowd to make noise, and believe me, Billy Gunn and Austin Gunn have been the MVPs in the crowd, because Billy and Austin Gunn have done everything they can to liven this stuff up. I honestly think it's Austin who's doing most of the livening up, but hey, I have to give his guys some credit too. But yes, Tony Schiavone and Chris Jericho, when Chris Jericho is all said and done in his career, he could be a fantastic commentator, whether it's for AEW or WWE, New Japan, Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor. Hell, if he wants to start his own company, anywhere he would want to go and be a commentator, it would be fantastic for a guy like Chris Jericho. He is that good. Just like Samoa Joe coming on to commentary on Monday Night Raw. Not recently, but I mean when he first came on the commentary late last year. And nobody knew exactly how good Samoa Joe was going to be because, yes, you could be a great talker on the mic when it comes to cutting your own promos, but that doesn't always translate to being a great commentator. I wish I could put a great example out there, but yes, that's just how it is sometimes. Just like if you're a great commentator, you ain't going to be able to, doesn't mean you're going to be a great backstage personality person or a manager if you wanted to say, you know what, I don't want to be a commentator anymore. I want to go do other things in wrestling. I want to be a manager. Doesn't mean you're going to be able to cut a good promo. But guys like Chris Jericho and Samoa Joe can do it, and they have done it very, very well. So, WWE has been such a drain, while AEW has been a silver lining in match quality. I mean, go watch that match, that final match this past week, the street fight. That was fantastic. And yes, I know they want people social distancing, but shut the fuck up already. That is one thing that I need people to stop fucking on like anybody who's sitting there worrying about what other people are fucking doing in their goddamn lives, whether in AEW or WWE. Knock it the fuck off. If you're sitting there so goddamn worried about what somebody else is doing in their fucking job, stop watching the fucking product. If you were that fucking scared that, oh my god, they might spread the virus, shut the fuck up. Let people live their goddamn lives. If you want to be a sheltered little pussy little bitch, stay at home, hide under your little blanket fort, and shut the fuck up. God, I'm getting so sick and tired of seeing fucking videos of people talking about, oh, well, there were too many people in the crowd. They were, when they had that street fight in the back, which, by the way, Sammy Guevara getting run over by Matt Hardy and Kenny Omega is the funniest thing of this week. No matter what they do at Money in the Bank tonight, is no way they're going to top what Sammy Guevara and them, what all four men, what all those men did in that match. I'm sorry. And it's a running meme, too. It's just funny. It's that Sammy Guevara getting killed. One, I never want to see him do that again. Ever. Never want to see that spot again. You can't top that spot anyway. And two, Sammy Guevara, don't ever fucking do it again. But it's people know the fucking risk of life. Guess what, people? You get up in the morning, you're lucky to get up. There are people who fall asleep and don't ever get up. So, if you want to sit there and bitch, moan, and complain because somebody else is living their life the way they want to, or doing a job that they get paid to do their fucking way, you need to get your head checked. You need to get some major fucking therapy or something. Stop worrying about other people and worry about yourself. How about that? I'm talking about anybody who does a fucking podcast or some kind of radio show or some kind of I don't care if it's F4W Online. I don't care if it's fucking unscripted, off the script. I don't care if it's Solid Monster. I don't care if it's Don Coney and Kevin Castle. If you're sitting there, bitching and moaning or whining and complaining because AEW had a few fans in the crowd or a few fans in there, or when they were doing the backstage brawl and nobody was being socially distancing, it's not your fucking job to worry about it, so stop fucking worrying. How hard is that to fucking figure out? I get sick and tired of this shit. Rant on that over. And one last thing before we get out of here. The Revolt. The Revival. Dash and Dawson, also known as Cash and Dax now. Cash Hardwood, Cash Wheeler, and Dax Hardwood. Get their names wrong. Of course, they were on Talk is Jericho this past Wednesday, which, with them being on Talk is Jericho, I was hoping and praying, because they have been teased on being the Elite that they're going to be coming to AEW. I was hoping more than anything that they were going to show up on this show and possibly join the Inner Circle or possibly do something else. But of course, with the Young Bucks not being there, I can see why they're probably not going to be around for a minute. But hey, I can always wonder. But a few things that happened on this show. While the Revival were busy trying to turn their heads in NXT, they were disheartened for news from some WWE staffers that Vince McMahon would like their accents. Wouldn't like their accents. The North Carolinian pair were repeatedly told that they wouldn't get much promo time if they ever made the main roster. That seemed to be the case, at least until their very last meeting with Vince McMahon. There's just as Cash and Dax were about to walk out of the door, Vince said he couldn't believe how well-spoken they were. Which, that is the thing about having a southern accent. With the way that movies and TV shows portray southerners, they portray them as nothing but idiots. And dopes. And dumbasses. And just, they can't think for themselves. So, when it just puts a really bad taste. If you have a southern accent, that's my terrible southern accent, that you're probably going to be fucked out of a job, especially in the wrestling business. If you work for somebody who doesn't like southern accents, you're going to get fucked over in working there for a while because they don't want to have you talk. Both wrestlers sat across. He said, "We could send you to Good Morning America." He excitedly added, but both wrestlers sat across the table, scratching their heads. The Revival was slightly taken aback that Vince McMahon was being so complimentary of their verbal skills when others behind the scene told them they were too southern. Vince McMahon also seemed surprised that both men were so articulate. That's the thing that people don't seem to realize. Now, the Revival didn't want to leave WWE on bad terms, which honestly, a lot of people don't seem to realize that, as a lot of people don't want to. If you get your release from WWE, they don't want to really leave on bad terms because, hey, I want to go out there and prove WWE wrong that they fucked up and mishandled me, misused me. Just look at Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre got released many years ago. Spent a couple years on the independent scenes, reinvented himself, grew out his facial hair, had his hair grow a little bit longer, got beefier, got better, looked like a badass. He didn't leave WWE on bad terms. They fired him. So when the time was right, he was going to come back, which he did in 2017. And WWE brought him back, and he's the WWE champion now, as he should be. Now, if you leave on bad terms, it will take a lot more for WWE to want to bring you back. Now, WWE and Vince McMahon has brought people back who have left on bad terms. Brock Lesnar, Goldberg, The Ultimate Warrior, so on and so forth, Hulk Hogan. But the Revival, the Cash and Dax told Jericho they secretly planned to get through the hectic Christmas 2018 house show loop and then asked to be released. They had already been tipped off that they might be winning the Raw Tag Team titles shortly after the new year. So the team decided to wait until they were on the upswing in January of 2019 before trying to get out. Neither man wanted to make it look like they were just bitter about the lack of TV push or the title success. It was important to the Revival that they assumed WWE assured them that they'd be taken better care of the tag team division, not just them. Looking back, they realize now that the promotion's attitude towards tag team was never going to change. The WWE's tag team philosophy is never going to change on the main roster. Vince McMahon doesn't see money in tag team wrestling. Unless it's the New Day, Vince McMahon doesn't care about tag team wrestling. Even though, if I'm correct, wasn't 2017's match of the year New Day versus the Usos in Hell in a Cell? Was that 2017? I'm pretty sure that was 2017. That was the match of 2017 in WWE. That was a tag team match, was it not? The fact that you have Heavy Machinery, who are on a hiatus now because Otis is doing this thing with Mandy. You have the New Day. You have the Usos. You have the Street Profits. You have the Viking Raiders. You have AOP when they're not injured. You have all these great tag teams. The Forgotten Sons getting their feet wet until they get fucking demoted. All these great tag teams that WWE have had over the years. The Hype Bros were a good tag team that went nowhere. You had Rusev Day that could have been something for WWE, but they ended up squandering that. You had the Vaudevillains who came up from NXT, who were a fucking fan favorite in NXT. What happened to them? They didn't go anywhere. Simon Gotch got his release, and Aiden English was in WWE until this past April. Cash said some might have thought they had an elevated opinion on themselves if they left when things weren't going so well. As grafters who want to work for their money, it was vital to see out a rough patch and then speak their minds. That's what. They also laid out for WWE the Revival didn't especially want to become tag team champions. Dax remembers those words coming out of his partner's mouth, and he elaborated, Cash didn't think the titles meant anything in 2019. This was January of last year. They didn't think the titles meant anything. The titles today don't mean anything. The tag team titles in WWE haven't meant anything since the Attitude Era. That was the last time the titles meant anything. The previous year, WWE had taken a dump all over the reportings by having Braun Strowman steamroll the bar and then win the tag team belts with a 10-year-old kid at WrestleMania. The lack of true focus on anything but comedy depressed the Revival to the point that they felt they had to make a stand. Cash told WWE their unhappiness didn't stem from a lack of personal gain. Instead, they wanted everyone in the division to get some shine and look good. The Revival were concerned that the state of the Raw Tag Team division would reflect poorly on them too. They thought that they'd be viewed as failures automatically because the straps were not credible to the fans and worried the efforts would be a waste of time. Yes, when Braun Strowman went in there and just steamrolled the entire tag team division on Monday Night Raw, going up to WrestleMania, and then telling us he's going to have a mystery tag team partner. He will let them know who his tag team partner is going to be at WrestleMania. And then we get to WrestleMania. He's like, who wants to be my tag team partner? And then he walks into the crowd past all these NXT talents who were standing right there and walks over to this fucking 10-year-old kid. Brings him in. Now, granted, if the 10-year-old kid was a Make-A-Wish kid, then I have nothing bad to say because you're making a kid's wish that it's probably would have passed on by now. But that wasn't the case. He was the son of the referee in the match. So what they do? Braun Strowman single-handedly himself won the tag team titles with a 10-year-old kid. And WWE wonders why people stop watching this product. Why the tag team division never, ever was ever going to recover after that. Now, doing this thing, we also found out how Dash got his name. Back in the NXT days, the Revival leaned on the experience and mentorship of one Dusty Rhodes. The American Dream was put in charge of naming select talent on the brand, and he had something special in mind for Cash. He became Dash, known as a tribute to Dusty Rhodes' son, because at one time, Cody was Dashing Cody Rhodes, and Dusty liked the name Dashing, so he took the word Dash and gave it to Cash. Yeah, Cash was Dash because Cody's Dashing gimmick in WWE around a decade ago. Wheeler recalls hearing Dusty Rhodes say the name and smiling proudly because it reminded him of his son. Though Wheeler likely liked that Dusty was happy, he never really took ownership of the name personally, which you understand that. It was just something that he accepted if he was going to be part of the WWE system. Funnily enough, everyone else now knows him as Dash. Even his partner slipped up and called him that several times during the Talk to Jericho interview. No, even Dash's young daughter is like, should I call him Dash? Should I call him Cash? What should I call him now? Which, that's the thing. When you go from WWE and you've been there for a while, and you don't own your name that you're using in WWE, they use it. And say you're in a tag team like the Dash and Dawson are, and you both leave WWE. If your tag team partner has kids who are around you all the time, they're calling you by your wrestling name, and then you go and change it, they're going to be like, do I call you by this or it's just, that's funny shit right there. But that's really interesting to know that Cash Wheeler became Dash Wilder because of Dash and Cody Rhodes. I'm sure if he joins AEW, we're going to get one of those jokes in there every once in a while. Dusty didn't ignore one Scott Dawson. He didn't give the future Dax Hardwood a pet name that reminded him of his family, but he did refer to him as the best wrestler in the company backstage one day when Dax was sitting with Sami Zayn. That's highest praise, especially coming from a wrestling royalty like Dusty Rhodes. Rhodes strolled into the locker room, the trainer's room, where Dax and Sami were sitting, and said that he'd watched some of his matches from the previous live event loop. Then Dusty revealed that he was mildly impressed and said, "I don't care what anyone else says around here. You're the best wrestler in this company." That is huge. It is. Dusty praise-filled Dax full of confidence, and he knew he was onto something if he was pleasing someone with so much pedigree in the wrestling biz. Sadly, several others in WWE didn't feel the same as viewed Dax and Cash as smallish tag team who shouldn't really talk. Yeah. I wonder who that is, Vince McMahon. Now, the Revolt are still confused about exactly why the Young Bucks started the hashtag FBR trend when they were both working for Ring of Honor in 2017. Cash and Dax think Matt and Nick might have been feeling the heat from fans on social media started referring to Revival as the world's best tag team, but they're not totally sure. That's obviously what happened. In 2017, when the Revival were NXT giving you match of the year candidates with the AOP, with DIY, with American Alpha, they were the best tag team in the world. And the Young Bucks, who always want to be known as the best tag team in the world, hated that. They fucking hated it. So, what did they do? They lashed out. They started fuck the Revival because that's what they do. And that's how it started. They never actually met the Bucks face to face or asked them. Cash did say that the NXT team weren't initially receptive to the duo saying fuck the Revival. They didn't know if the Bucks had a genuine animosity towards them or were just trying to be funny. Whatever the reason were, they were never once explained to Cash or Dax via social media, DM, or on the phone. I'm pretty sure when they make the Being the Elite, they make their debut on Being the Elite, it'll all come to fruition. The part on the pod made it seem like Revolt were AEW bound. Dax said they couldn't wait to show the Bucks how to wrestle. And Cash said if it's only a matter of time before they work with the brothers one day, it came across like they already in something and working on an angle. Well, if you watched Being the Elite 201, which all you need to do was watch the last few seconds. The last few seconds. You have Matt and Nick who are just sitting on a patio. They look up in the sky, and all it says is FDR. So if that doesn't tell you the Revolt are coming to AEW, I don't know what to tell you. The Revival were officially released, of course, as we know, on April 10th, 2020, just mere days before 20 plus people were either fired or furloughed in WWE. The very same afternoon, Bret Hart sent a text over to Dax Hardwood to tell him how proud he was that they'd been able to stand up for what they believed in. He then asked Dax to forward the same to Cash. Inside, Hardwood was precisely beaming with pride. He'd grown up idolizing the Hitman, and the Revival had partnered with a ton of their work after the Hart Foundation. When he saw his phone light up and that text message came through, Dax knew he made the right call to stand by his self-respect and ask for his release. It was vindictive for turning down a contract extension that would pocket millions. Cash agreed that earning that respect of one's peers and legends in business is much more nourishing than accepting disrespect just to get by. Absolutely. Absolutely. Getting respect from a Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels or somebody like that you looked up to, that you idolized when you were a kid, that means more than any dollar sign that Vince McMahon can throw you away. So that is the best way to go at it. And yes, if anybody remembers a week and a half ago or so, there were leaks that came out of Dax and Cash wearing these ridiculous outfits that were colorful. One had a Flavor Flav clock thing on it around his neck or something. They were legit. These were absolutely legit. Some concept art for a proposed new gimmick was leaked online. According to both Cash and Dax, those pictures were 100% legitimate, and the exact same designs were handed by none other than Vince McMahon himself. During one last meeting, that Vince McMahon tried to keep these guys in-house. He's like, well, I want you to stay. Here's what I got for you. Now, when Cash opened up the folder and saw that the company had planned, he couldn't help but burst out into fits of laughter. Meanwhile, Vince, Mark Carrano, and Bruce Pritchard sat stoically and waited on him to finish giggling. They weren't laughing. They were deadly serious about the new look. The Revival had fought for a meeting with Vince McMahon for months. For months! But it was repeatedly delayed due to how busy the boss was with Fox and the XFL deal. When they finally got him pinned down, the pair couldn't believe that he effectively wanted them to become some cross between Clowns, Cat in the Hat, and Flavor Flav. It wasn't going to happen, but Cash did say he would play the new character until his contract ran out. But that it added that he told Vince he wasn't going to sign a new extension. Meanwhile, Dax was even less turned on by the idea of wearing lipstick, a do-rag, and carrying glow sticks to the ring. Even so, they can understand what WWE were going for. They were trying to bury the Revival to the point that nobody was going to pick these guys up. Nobody was going to give these guys a shot because their credibility was shot to hell. They would have to disappear for a year and wrestle somewhere else for people to actually take them serious again. They been complaining on screen for months about being taken seriously and had even said something like, if you want us to be clowns, then we're going to be clowns. That one promo, one designed to disparage WWE's haha approach to tag team wrestling, stirred something in McMahon. His vision for the new look was that the Revival would be dressing that way out of spite. The frosty response to the pitch changed everything. That meeting took place on Friday before an episode of SmackDown, and the Revival informed that WWE were pulling them from the road that very next Wednesday. Vince didn't like that they laughed at his idea. Do you really think Vince McMahon would be happy that somebody laughed at his great idea? And finally, WWE, of course, wanted to do everything they could to keep the Revival in-house. They would throw as much money at these guys to keep them in. Say, we'll give you as many tag team title reigns as you want. We'll give you the tag team titles for 6 months. We'll give you this pocket of money. Just stay here, sign that contract for the next 5 years. Hell, with the way everything is gone, even if they would have signed that contract, they probably would have been fired anyway. Reports online suggested for a good 15 months or so that the Revival earned somewhere in the vicinity of $700,000 to $750,000 per year each if they agreed to a WWE extension. But Dax and Cash told Jericho that those numbers were the lowest estimate. WWE offered much higher salaries to keep them. Though the pair didn't get away concrete numbers, they did hint that it was much closer to $1 million per annum. If they're willing to do that comedy stuff and be packaging themselves with Vince McMahon's new vision, then Cash and Dax could have raked in working lighthearted matches for the next couple of years. The thing is, they'd made up their minds about leaving long ago. When Dax asked his grandmother about advice, she said, "That's a lot of money to turn down." Then she paused and said, "But how much money do you really need to live?" That confirmed to Hardwood that he was making the right call. So yeah, $1 million per year for 5 years. Vince McMahon tried to get $5 million a year to these guys. Again, here's the thing: had the Revival, aka the Revolt, signed those contracts back when they first would, like when that 1 million mark came through, I guarantee you they were the first on the chopping block. Well, these guys wanted to be released anyway, so off you go. Because WWE had to, which they didn't have to. What doesn't make any sense with the way WWE's handled things recently is the fact that they didn't have to cut anybody. They didn't have to release or furlough anybody, but they did. So yes, the Revival did the right thing. The Revival got what they wanted to and get out of Dodge. But honestly, even if they didn't get fired when they did or got their immediate release so they could go anywhere if there was anywhere to go outside of AEW, something tells me they would have been the first on the chopping block. Had we gotten to April, what was it, April 15th, 2020, and the Revival was still under contract, I guarantee you the very first names you would have seen was Dash and Dawson are released from WWE. But they got the release. There's no doubt in my mind they will be in AEW probably after Double or Nothing or the next time Matt and Nick are on TV. But that is, time will tell. This is your Unscripted for May 10th, 2020. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Find me on Twitter at The France Club. Find me on twitch.tv/The France Club. Find me on Instagram at The France Club. And I will see you guys tonight for what is going to be, as they said, the most unique ladder match in WWE history, because the risk is worth the reward. And I guarantee you, if you're a drinker and you like playing drinking games, bust out the scotch and take a shot for every time you hear the risk is worth the reward or the most unique match in the Money in the Bank ladder match in history. But I'm getting out of here. You guys have a good one, and I'll see you guys later.